Well, energy experts are sounding the alarm on America's dependence on foreign energy sources as prices surge at the pump. But White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki says the administration's climate change agenda is the solution. Watch.
What this actually justifies, in President Biden's view, is the fact that we need to reduce our dependence on foreign oil, on oil in general, and we need to look at other ways of having energy in our country and others.
But Biden has actually been making questionable moves when it comes to energy independence since his first day in office, actually, when he halted completion of the Keystone XL pipeline. So will he reverse course this evening in his State of the Union address? Joining us now to discuss is our company executive director of Power the Future, Daniel Turner, and a laid-off Keystone XL pipeline worker, Lynn Allen. Daniel, Lynn, thank you so much for being here. Excited to talk to you all. Lynn, I want to start with you. And before we get to your story, what's your reaction to Jen Psaki doubling down on green energy? I mean, aren't pipelines one of the safest ways to transport oil?
Yes, ma'am. Very much so. There's a lot of surveys goes into it. A lot of engineering goes into it. There's just so much to it that we could sit here and spend an hour, and I can sit and tell you for hours what it takes to build a pipeline. And the thing about it is, people don't realize just how much technology goes into this, that it is the safest way, the quickest way, and the fastest way to move energy underground.
Daniel, I want to show you some crazy numbers to kind of put all of this into perspective. The U.S. imported as much as 795,000 barrels per day from Russia last year. That's to the tune of $57 million a day. What's even more crazy is Russia constitutes just a fraction of our total oil imports. So we really don't need to be doing business with Russia at all. And so I guess the question is, how catastrophic have these policies been, not just to our economy, but frankly, to our national security?
Yeah, I mean, even before this Ukrainian invasion happened, we were watching prices rise dramatically. And the driving force behind the inflation was the fact that energy was very expensive, and it was making the price of all goods and services expensive. Everything is transported, manufactured, grown. Everything needs energy. And so inexpensive energy means inexpensive goods. You add on top of this what's happening with Russia, and we could reverse this if we just produced more energy at home. So Jen Psaki's disconnect is really, it shows you how naive this administration is to energy policies. They have made it very hard to produce oil and gas. People like Lynn Bugsy Allen on the show right now, they have fired people like him. And by doing this, they've driven up the price dramatically, and they've made Putin very rich in the process.
Lynn, I do want to talk about your story because I remember back in 2016, Hillary Clinton actually vowed to put coal workers out of business with this promise to get them clean energy jobs. Biden essentially done the same. You've been laid off from your job at the Keystone XL pipeline. Were you able to find a green energy job?
No, ma'am. There's no green energy jobs out there. They're lying just like they always do. And like Mr. Turner was saying, we're not even at the base of the mountain. Wait till all these farmers have to pay high-dollar off-road to run them tractors whenever them tractors out there are producing us food, and they're burning 1,500 gallons of diesel a day. A tractor does not run on electricity. It runs on diesel. That's a product of oil. And I can promise you this, a lot of people, well, all of the United States of America is fixing to feel the punch of oil and gas. This will set the stage this year. I will guarantee you will set the stage on people saying, you know what? We need oil and gas.
Right. You know, Daniel, what's so ironic is that the U.S., along with our allies, have released 60 million barrels of oil from global stockpiles to try to mitigate surging prices, right? Keep that in comparison. Remember how much we imported from Russia alone. 30 million barrels of that is coming from the U.S. So they demonize U.S. oil, but they still need it at the same time. I feel like, you know, this debate is so silly about green energy replacing fossil fuels completely. And it's just an unrealistic debate that we're having, especially now.
It really is. And this administration has pushed this green agenda very hard. But I also want to call to account an awful lot of people on the right who, because they were afraid of going to war with the environmental groups, because they wanted to sound cool, also bought into these climate change arguments, this green energy arguments. One of the things this administration will not admit is that the price of solar panels has gone up 50%. And the reason why is because solar panels are made from oil and gas. Green energy is made from fossil fuels. If you make fossil fuels expensive, you make everything expensive. So this transition is never going to happen. It's just another lie they are telling us.
Lynn, I don't have a lot of time left, but I do want to ask you, President Biden is speaking to the nation tonight in his State of the Union. What do you want to hear him say about oil and energy?
I want to hear him say, look, we're fixing to go America first. We're fixing to produce and be our energy number one, and put the American workers back to work so I can prosper my boys. I can prosper my family. I can give them more than what I had growing up, because I've worked 34 years in this oil and gas as a pipeline welder, and I want to be able to retire out of it. This man right here is knocking lots and lots and lots of people, thousands of people. And I want to hear him say, look, we're going back to Trump policy, and we're going to be number one in the energy.
I think you're not alone in that. Daniel, appreciate your insight. Lynn, thank you for sharing your story with us. Appreciate your time this evening.
God bless America.